We all know that Thomas used to be really popular in the 90s to the 2000s, and arguably even the 2010s. Now, this popularity has declined over time, which is expected, but with the impact Thomas had, specifically with the classic series, it is not a shock that media creators have put Thomas references into their creative works. Since the last time I talked about these references, I realized that the prior video to this, I don't like too much. I rushed it, and it kinda shows. So, for this video, I want to take the time to properly review the media I talk about on this list. So, with that all the way, let's cover some more pop culture references. Also, spoilers for like everything I talk about. I am so freaking pissed at myself for not covering this in the prior video. I recently got Bullet Train on sale for $5, and this movie is really solid. It has about 5 assassins boarding a bullet train, and all of their missions they were sent on are related. But the characters we are focusing on for this video are Tangerine and Lemon. These two characters are amazing. They are both British, and Lemon is a Thomas fan. He has the sticker book with Thomas characters on it, and he describes people based on the characters. He brings up Thomas so much to the point where Tangerine tells him he will kill him if he doesn't shut up about it. Tangerine actually does a Ringo Starr impression for Thomas, which is actually really cool to see. This movie feels like they had a good idea what they were doing when they put Thomas stuff in it. It's not to be in your face or a little reference, but actually plot relevant. We end up getting the scene with Tangerine where he faces the person who killed Lemon, and before Lemon died, he put a Diesel sticker on her, and Tangerine, knowing Diesel is the worst, he puts the Diesel sticker on the gun, and that's how we got this coolest image of Diesel on a gun. This was so freaking cool to see. Now, this scene does kind of get ruined by Tangerine not being able to fire a bullet, which would have been an amazing shot. Instead, he gets killed. Also, turns out Lemon, the best character, isn't dead, but now his brother is, so now he is sad. Really weird narrative choice, but I guess it adds on to us being able to see both Tangerine and Lemon grieve each other, which adds to their bond, I guess? But I don't feel too bad because they are both assassins after all. It's honestly crazy how this movie gets you to care about assassins. Probably my only criticism with how they handle the Tom stuff in this movie would be how they say diesels are the worst, when throughout the classic series we see how diesels aren't all bad. It's really just a nitpick, if I'm being real. And everything else was done so well. Also, these scenes, like, they could just mean like Diesel himself is the worst. It's still really well done. I feel like this might be the best movie for Thomas fans who want just something that isn't Thomas but has a reference in it. I really like the scene where Lemon can't drive a bullet train, and like most Thomas fans, we wouldn't know how to drive a train if we're being realistic here. This movie was really cool to view as a Thomas fan. It's probably the best thing Thomas fans have ever gotten outside of like the series itself. If you are old enough to watch this movie and you are okay with tons of freaking blood, yeah, this is not a bad watch. Paprika is one of the few things I liked prior to making this video that had a Thomas reference. When it comes to describing the events that led up to this reference, hold on, let me just, oh. I will describe this the best way I can for people who haven't seen this movie, which I bet is a lot of you. This movie is basically as old as me, and the only people who really talk about it are like anime fans. For context, this movie is all about dreams. It's confusing, and not everything makes sense, kinda like a dream would make sense. The scientists make a device that let therapists and doctors enter a patient's dream, but something goes wrong, so the main characters go to the co-creator of the device, and they go into their apartment, and this is where we get the Thomas reference in the movie. And that is when the main character finds a ladder in the apartment, and she goes down it, and she finds this huge park with an engine resembling Thomas in it. Now, I should clarify, there is a small possibility that this is not a Thomas reference. I couldn't find anything clarifying that it wasn't or was, but also, look at this. It's basically the same shade of blue, and it looks like him. It's a Thomas reference, like, let's just get that clear. Something kind of funny about the scene, the main character jumps over the fence, but it turns out she was actually dreaming. It's not funny that she almost jumped to her death, by the way. The funny part is that when they go to the real park, Thomas is not there. He's just stuck in the dream world. Rest in peace, Thomas. We will miss you.
Hey, Editing Diana here. I just realized that I completely forgot to say my opinions on this movie. It's really good. I highly recommend you watch it. In terms of watching it for a Thomas reference, there really isn't much for it. But in terms of just like being a good movie, I really enjoyed it. So if you're old enough to watch this, I highly recommend it.
I was actually shocked that Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared had a Thomas reference in it. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared has always given me the weirdest feeling of any sort of feelings out there. It's just so uncomfortable to watch. From the stuff I've seen, it's well made, but feels like I should not be watching this because of how weird this is. Now, I'm not trying to discredit the show because it's done really well. And for the Thomas reference, it appears in the episode Guide to Transport, where this guy shows up and gives all the characters tickets and educates them on transportation. Now, is this basic? Yeah. But if you watch this, you know there's a lot more to it than it seems. The guy has to drink some liquid, take some medicine, and when he gives the tickets, he coughs on one. It's just so freaking weird. So bonus points for that. Something I realized from watching this clip of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is that the TV show is basically like the YouTube channel, but better, and that scares me. Castle in the Sky is a Studio Ghibli movie made in 1986, and it's about this girl named Shita. These pirates invade the ship she is on, and they are looking for this thing called the Laputa Stone. She decides to crawl on the side of the blimp, and then falls to her death. Luckily for her, the stone saves her by making her float. This boy Patsu sees her and catches her from the sky. In the movie, they get to know each other, and where all the Thomas references come in is when the pirates locate Shita, and they have to go to the railroad tracks, and there is this Toby steam tram thing with the number 7. They actually have a chase with Toby in this movie. Now, this movie did come out in 1986, so it might be possible it's not a Thomas reference, seeing how Thomas, the TV show, didn't come out in Japan until 1990. Maybe this is a coincidence, or it could be a reference to the Railway series. Either way, this tram has some resemblance to Toby, and it feels too much of a coincidence for it not to be a reference. Castle in the Sky, as a movie, is pretty good, so if you want to watch it just for the Thomas reference, you might be left a little disappointed, but it just depends on what type of movies you like, really. Hell of a Boss, being a show uploaded to YouTube, has the advantage of doing really whatever they want. For those who don't know, which is really shocking because this show seems inescapable, Hell of a Boss is a comedy about demons running a business where humans who died and sent to hell can hire them to get their revenge. Well, that's how it started. Now it's more of like a character-driven with stories, but that's not what we're going to be into today, because thankfully for me, this reference only appears in the worst episode of the whole series. Well, maybe second worst now. Either way, it's not a good episode, so yay! But all the context you need is at the start of the episode, where this person gets killed by Thomas the Tank Engine. Wait, why would you include this reference if there isn't anything really to it, you ask? Well, it's simple. I must have ran out of adult media that has references of Thomas media. Too bad there is nothing else I could possibly talk about. Okay. I'll talk about the Cleveland show. But you better subscribe! The Cleveland show might actually be the most unfunny thing I have ever seen. In the episode, Black History Month, this kid learns about terrible things that happen to black people and the struggles they have to go through. Something I never thought I'd be mentioning on my channel, ever. Thanks, Cleveland Show. Then once he's back home, he talks more about it, and then we get a scene that most people know where the kid sees the Confederate flag and says, "You're worse than Uncle Thomas the Tank Engine." Then we get the scene of Thomas and Topham. I honestly don't understand what the joke is supposed to be here. I have the context, but I don't even get the joke. Family Guy jokes have never really landed too much, besides the one where the kid finds the Take On Me thing. That was actually really funny. But when it comes to Cleveland show, I hear its reputation, and yeah, this is It's not that funny.
I really like the idea of Cleveland Brown appearing and being some sort of like hype thing. I find that funny, but in the actual terms of the show, there is no genuine enjoyment I get from this.
I don't know, maybe I just don't get this type of humor, but I have context, and I just gave you context, and this still doesn't make sense. What were the writers doing? Can I get a translation of this episode, please? Because honestly, it feels like they put the script into Google Translate, and this is what the joke came up with. Also, I'm not gonna question Thomas's weird middle buffer, alright? That's not for me to talk about. Yeah, I should really move on from that. In Topham, he looks like every other Family Guy person. Honestly, this is a stretch too. I think it would have been cool if they just like made a sort of wooden character model for this joke, but it's a Family Guy cutaway gag. I don't expect them to do this. But yeah, that's the Cleveland show. And it's making me question life, and I should really stop thinking about it. But yeah, this reference, just better in the YouTube clips. Just keep this in the YouTube clips, everyone. But that was it for Thomas references in pop culture. If you enjoyed the video, then you better turn on that notification bell. I swear, I watched the Cleveland show for this.